This is Honeybee Farm with the SARE grant for short trellis hops. I'm going to demonstrate the composting method we use for organic farming. We have 2 horses, and so we're using horse manure compost. The composting process destroys any of the weed seed that could be in it, and this is the only fertilizer that we use, so all of our nitrogen and so far all of our other nutrients, and the crop has looked good. I use the Berkley method for composting, which consists of thoroughly wetting the manure pile when you begin, and then you wait 3 days, and then you turn the pile, and then every other day after that you turn the pile until you reach the 3-week mark, or until it looks done. So I have a pile here. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's steam rising from it. This has only been turned once, so this is relatively new. And this, with 2 horses, is about how much I get after 3 weeks. And I'm just going to demonstrate the turning method as well. Then I also, instead of wetting the entire pile just before I begin, I bring over the manure twice a day in buckets, and so sometimes I just wet what's in the bucket as I bring it over, and that seems to work just as well, and it's easier for me since it's hard to get a hose over to the pile. So in any case, the quickest method that I have for turning it is to just take maybe 1 foot off the edge and with the pitchfork knock it over. And so I don't have anyone to hold this camera for me, so hopefully you'll be able to see it, but I just like I say, knock it over, and I'm able to knock off a foot at a time pretty quickly. It's hardest when the pile is fresh like this because it hasn't broken down yet, so there's still a lot of straw and things in here. Now this is horse manure, so it happens to have the correct ratio of nitrogen. If you're throwing if you're not doing horse manure, or you're throwing a lot of other stuff in here, you'll have to get the right ratio, typically of brown to green components. But I find it's pretty resilient, so I can toss those things in and it doesn't really affect anything. So that was 1 foot of the pile. Losing my breath. The pile is probably 5 or 6 feet wide. So you saw I did that in just about a minute. It's a little harder for the center ones, or maybe they're a little taller. So in any case, the whole thing probably takes me 15 minutes. Now, the main reason I think we're doing this is not necessarily to keep it roaring, but you can see how it gets white in here. I think that actually means that it's been too hot. And so the turning it actually, I think, keeps the temperature down in the center of the pile where it's prone to go to excessive temperatures. And you can use a compost thermometer, but with the Berkley method of just flipping it every other day, I find it's really not necessary. And you can see here, here's the 2nd foot that I'm doing, and by just knocking it over on the edge, you can do it really quickly, other than, like I say, as you start approaching the parts that you've already knocked down, it takes a little longer because you gotta sort of, it can't just all fall over, you gotta turn some of it by hand with the pitchfork, but it's not that bad. Let's say here's the second layer is now done here. And I just do that. I got 3 or 4 more courses to do. Last thing I'll show you is I've taken, it does need air for the process, so I've taken a 2-inch, or is it, this is actually 1.5-inch PVC pipe, and I've drilled holes in it. So every 6 inches I've drilled a hole, about 3/8 inch hole, and then I stick that into the pile, and so the last couple holes are sticking out, the remainder are inside the pile, and it brings air in. If you wanted to do it really fast, you can pump air in there, but this works pretty well for my purposes. And then the end product is, here's the compost that's ready to go into the field. So thank you, Honeybee Farm. Hope you tune into our other videos.